Am I on? Let's see. Yes, good.
Unlike many other international circuits in the calendar, Imola runs in an anti-clockwise direction.
Hello and welcome back to ESRL Division 1. It's Friday and so it's time for more racing. We're here in Imola today for what's sure to be a great race. We've got a full grid, 20 drivers, all competing, some of them Tier 2, because I believe the Division 2 race got cancelled today. But good to see them racing in Division 1 instead. So, let's see. Looks like a full wet conditions. I just had a full wet qualifying around Singapore that I was part of. And that was, well, it got lighter towards the end of the session. So we'll see if the same thing happens here. But if not, it's all going to be about finding as much grip as you can out there. So it looks like Robinet, the Frenchman, is going to be the first to set a lap. He's first out on track. Palang also racing in ESRL today. Hopefully he has a good one. I believe it's his second debut in this league. First one wasn't. It didn't go so well. So, but good to see him back. And hopefully he will have a good race and be fine. But yeah, Robinet coming through Sector 2. We've got a few drivers coming out as well. Plenty of time left in the session, and it's a short track, but of course in the wet it's going to be a little bit longer in terms of time. As Robinet comes through the chicane, but while we wait, let's go through the standings. So we have, let's see. So we have Speed Alcoholic leading the drivers' standings after last week with 45 points compared to TF Mar 10, who's got 37, and Short Marcus got 34 just behind. NER Ayrton, the three-time defending champion, is back today. He's missed a few races, but it's good to see him back. He's got 26 points after missing last week in Italy, and obviously DNFing in Zandvoort, which is the race we do not mention. But Robinet coming to the end of Sector 1 now. Through Villeneuve he goes. Looks pretty hooked up from the Ferrari. Brake hard into this hairpin and don't lose the rear on the exit. Very easy to do. Robinet looks like he's got the car planted to the floor, but Is it fast? That's the question. Robinett now to this left-hander. Can be easy to invalidate in the dry. In the wet, it's just about surviving. And now down towards Aqua Minerale. Tough corner in the dry, even tougher in these heavy rain conditions. As Robinett loses the rear a bit on the exit, but keeps the car on the circuit. Down towards the chicane. Is he going to chop off the chicane? No, he's going to lock the rears and spin, unfortunately, for the Frenchman. So what about Palang? He's just behind on a lap as well, but I think he might have spun as well because he was much closer to his teammate not long ago. And yeah, he's gone very wide there as well. So who's going to be next to set a lap? Victor's on an out lap. Is the main Wayne? No, the other Aston Martin. Scott is on an out lap as well. Jack Alaco, he's going to be the first to set a competitive lap time, I think. The Williams driver coming to the last couple of corners now. He's doing rather well in Division 2, is Jacko. Robinett at 41.8, but we saw that he spun at the chicane, so Jacko should comfortably beat that. To the line comes the Scotsman. 32.5 is the initial pace. From him, we'll see who can get anyone near that. Trugster's on an out lap. Who's that? Is it Short Marcus coming to the end of a lap? It is. So here he comes around the final corner. Comes the Alpine driver, P3 in the championship. What can he do out there? A 28.7. That's 5 seconds faster. Sorry, 4 seconds faster than Jacko's time. So clearly some time to gain. Tier up to P2 as well, a 31.5. So obviously Jacko, not the greatest lap from the Scotsman to start off this session. Tier up to P2. Short Marcus well ahead at the moment. We've got Luke's coming to the line. He was very quick last week, but down in P4 for now. Who's going to be next? That would be Eni Ayrton. There we go. The three-time defending champ goes on to provisional pole with a 27.9. Beats Short Marcus by 0.8 of a second. The main Wayne goes P3 in the meantime. Godzilla goes P3 now with a 29.4. We've got Eisenborg and Luke's. I need to change to that because it's easier to see the comparisons. Cialda 1.6 down on Ayrton. And Victor up to P6 with a 29.9. Just ahead of his teammate. Scott up to P3. What an effort that is from the Aston Martin driver. Well up there, only 1.4 seconds off Ayrton, which sounds like a lot, but given that Scott's coming here from Division 2 and it's wet conditions, so it's going to be tricky, that is a very good effort. Spaled Wrong up to P4, Trugster up to P2, what an effort from him as well in the Alpha Tauri. Beats out Short Marcus for now, who's invalidated his next lap, so he won't improve anytime soon. Nath Clark, been a while since we've seen him, the championship challenger from season 3, I believe. Of ESRL Division 1. It all fell apart towards the end of the season for him, unfortunately, his challenge, but this season, well, he hasn't been in the first few races, but it's good to see him back on track in the Red Bull. Through Sector 2 he goes, bit slidey on the exit. Who was that went up? I think it was Jack Alaco improves to P6. There he goes. So that's much more like it from the Scotsman. He's also got Palang on another lap. Robinett still hasn't improved. Yeah, he's still 4.5 seconds down, so the Frenchman really struggling out there. Eisenborg well down. Someone improved. I think that was maybe the main Wayne up to P4, I think. As Victor, 27.6. Either the track's getting faster or that's a fantastic effort from Victor onto pole position, beating out Ayrton for now. RS is invalidated. Nath Clark's invalidated. So Palang is on a lap, but everyone's going to be on a lap because you can do multiple laps in these sorts of conditions in a row. And your tyres won't be that bad. Well, they won't be bad at all, really. They'll pretty much feel exactly the same if you do 3 laps in a row. The only issue would be ERS, but obviously in the wet that drains slower than in the dry as well, so you can afford to do multiple laps. Palang looks like he's hooking up this lap a little bit better than his previous ones. Through the chicane he goes, nearly invalidates on that left-hander, but does it very nicely. Short Marcus now to pole, 27.3. That's 0.2 ahead of Victor. So Yeah, I think that provisional pole position is going to change quite a few times in this session. Palang very slidey on the exit, the penultimate corner. Cialdo up to P4 in the meantime. Here comes the Ferrari driver to the line. It's looking okay. 31-1. Okay, no, quite far down from Palang. P12 for him for now. RS on a lap as well. The Jamaican driver looking for a decent qualifying performance. The two Mercedes now 4 and 5 as Godzilla improves to P4. Nath Clark is on a better lap this time. He hasn't invalidated, but this AlphaTauri's up ahead and he's gone very wide. NER Ayrton goes to pole now, 27-2, just about a tenth ahead of Marcus. It's very, very close between the two at the moment. Nath Clark, though, coming through the last few corners, he was wide at the chicane, so have lost a few tenths there. Nearly invalidates in the penultimate corner. Through the final corner comes the Red Bull driver and down towards the line. Intermediates coming out in the pit lane. Nath Clark goes to P5 despite that wide moment. The track's definitely improving, I think. Ayrton not improving in Sector 1 though, he's 1.2 down. I wonder when the inters are going to come out to play. Rick and Jackalacco just testing out the inters in the pit lane, just seeing if they're faster according to the game or not. Here's Martin, P2 in the championship. And by the way, Speed Alcoholic is not here today. The championship leader at this Imola Grand Prix. So Martin, the effective championship leader, P2 in the championship, but in terms of who's actually here at this race, he's the championship leader, but he's gone round at Villeneuve. Very, very lucky to keep that out the wall. That was exceptionally close, but he's going to get another attempt at it. A few others testing out the inters in the pit lane. Robinette up by 8 tenths in the Ferrari through Sector 2. Coming to the last couple of corners now. His head snaps to the left. That was interesting. Loses the rear there. Locks the rear into the penultimate corner. That'll have lost him a few tenths at least. Down towards the line comes the Frenchman. See how much time that did lose him. It's going to be a 28.6. So it didn't lose him that much in terms of his relative to his Sector 2 time, but I'm sure he would have improved by a lot more if it weren't for that. But he's up to P9. The main Wayne improving in Sector 1, but only by a few thousandths of a second. Essentially an identical first sector from him. Short Marcus on a lap as well. 3 tenths up. He's going to look to take provisional pole here. Interestingly enough, all the people that on the inters on the side there, except for Spaled Wrong, I was about to say they're all in the pit, so none of them have actually tried the inters, but Spaled Wrong has gone out on the intermediate tyres. It's getting better out there. It could be an issue of last across the line gets pole. Short Marcus at 27.0 takes it for now, but it's exactly the same as what happened in the Singapore qualifying I did just before this. It was a matter of last across the line gets pole, and it's so just about got to inters at the end of the session. Trugster very, very slidey out of that left-hander, just about keeping it on circuit, but that will be lap over for him. Robinette not improving, but let's have a look at how Spaled Wrong's doing. He was the first to venture out on the intermediate tyres. He's very wide at Aqua Minerale. He's got to make sure he doesn't hold up this Aston Martin just behind him. Gets out the way sportingly. But Spaled on those inters, he's the first to take the plunge. It still looks wet out there, but it doesn't look as torrential as it was a few minutes ago. So Spaled Wrong could have made the right decision here. We'll soon find out as he's about to start his next effort. A few others looking onto the intermediate tyres as well. There's 5.5 minutes in the session to go. Still plenty of time for things to change. Godzilla now out on the inters as well. So DTS Ayrton though on an outlap on the wet, so he doesn't think it's time quite yet. But let's ride on board with Spaled Wrong as he comes to turn 1. Hooks it up fairly nicely. Very conservative though through that first complex of corners. Down towards Villeneuve he comes. Is he going to go wide into the gravel? It's very easy to do on this right-hander, but no, Spaled keeps the car on circuit. He's a 10.5 up on his previous best. It's nowhere near enough to challenge at the top of the standings, but it's enough to show that the Inters are getting better. And yeah, a few more people on Inters now. Jackalacco on an outlap in the Inters, as well as Tier, to make it 4 drivers on the Inters on track now. The main Wayne's gone out on an outlap on the wets, though, so some interesting strategy calls coming in here. Spaled very wide at Aqua Minerale, as he did on his outlap. And that'll have lost him a fair amount of time, and yeah, he's a long way down on his previous best. Maybe it's not time for the Inters yet, who knows? Or maybe it's Spaled wrong, just can't get them fired up. Jackalacco on the Inters as well. Godzilla just starting his lap, about to, on the intermediate tyres. He's very squirrely though through there. Is he going to peel into the pits and decide that wets are better? No, he's going to stay out and go for it on the intermediates. See what he can do. More drivers opting for the Inters in the pit lane. Main Wayne still on wets. Robin outlap on Inters. Tier outlap on Inters as well. So quite a few different decisions going on here. Godzilla through Tamburello down towards Villeneuve. He's got this Haas in front who could hold him up here, but gets out the way. I don't know who that was. Look, probably, yeah, DTS Ayrton was that Haas, who still hasn't set a representative lap time, unfortunately for him. Seems to be really struggling in these conditions. Godzilla, though, coming through Sector 2. I didn't quite catch what his Sector 1 delta was, so we'll stay on board with him to see what it is through Sector 2. Through Aqua Minerale he goes. Is he going to go wide like Spaled? No, he gets it spot on. Oh, but very, very squirrely on the exit. Somehow keeps it on the track again as he tries to get the throttle down. But he's still up on his best, so it's definitely intermediate weather out there. But Ayrton, the defending champ, has gone out on the wet. And I'm not sure if he's got enough time to go back in for the Inters. If he decides that it's intermediate weather, it's going to be very close for him. Godzilla very wide on the penultimate corner, but it's definitely going to be time for Inters by the end of this session, I think. Victor going out on the Inters, more drivers going out on the Inters. Cialda's on an outlap, but some drivers still on the wets, like Luke's and the main Wayne, and RS still on the wets as well. This is fascinating strategy calls here. Robinet, though, is 8 tenths up on his previous best through Sector 1. No, he wasn't. Sorry, that was his last best. He's actually 3.6 down. But Jackalacco's 6 tenths up on his best through Sector 2 on the intermediate tyres. Down to the line comes the Scotsman. What's it going to be? A 28.3. It puts him up to P11, but it's definitely getting into the intermediate weather. Ayrton, I don't think he's got enough time. If he does come in for the Inters, he's not going to come in. He's going to stick it out on the wets. Could he regret that? Martin's on the wets as well. They don't think it's intermediate weather, but look at the rain. It's definitely easing off. How's Short Marcus doing? He's coming to Sector 1 now for his first effort. He's going to get 2 shots at this. He's got just enough time for that unless he spins. Down towards Villeneuve goes the Alpine driver. Looks pretty hooked up, very bit wide on the exit though. Had to lift off, half a tenth up on his best nearly through Sector 1. So it's right on the crossover. It's difficult to say which tyre was better. It could well still turn out to be the wet. Ayrton, I didn't catch it if he's improving or not through Sector 1. We'll see through Sector 2. Marcus invalidates in Sector 2, so he's going to get one more chance to improve before the end of this session. Ayrton coming down towards Aqua Minerale. Spaled wrongs up to P4 on the intermediates. Ayrton coming through Sector 2. Down towards the sector line. What's it going to be? It's going to be 2 seconds down. He's not improving on the wets. And he's going to have one more chance as well. There's 1 minute to go in this session. But it's all to play for. Short Marcus coming down towards the last few corners. Spaled wrong, not improving. Godzilla, Trugster up to P5 on the Inters. What about Godzilla? I didn't see if he's improving in Sector 1. Cialda coming to the end of Sector 2 now in the Mercedes. Nath Clark up to P9. The Inters are coming into play, and I think Ayrton and Martin have made a mistake here. Cialda coming to the sector, but he's a second down, so no improvement for him. What about Godzilla, his teammate just behind? He nearly lost it twice out of this corner last lap. This lap, perfectly fine, but he's 1.5 seconds down as well. But the main Wayne up to pole position on the wet tyres at 27.0, 2 thousandths ahead of Marcus. Who can call what the right tyre is here? Absolutely no one. Marcus 0.5 tenth up in Sector 1 again. Tier's been disqualified somehow. Ayrton is 2 tenths up on his previous best through Sector 1 on the wet tyres. Martin's coming to the end of Sector 2. Tier's been disqualified. Here comes the Red Bull now to the sector line. Godzill's finished. He's not going to improve. He's going to be P8 at best. Martin 2.5 tenths up in Sector 2. But is it going to be enough to put it on pole? The main Wayne has put in an absolutely fabulous lap there in the Aston Martin. Division 2 champion from a couple seasons ago. But here he's looking to take pole in Division 1. Can he do it? Possibly. Martin coming through, spelled wrong up to P3 on the inters, only less than a tenth down. Martin slides through the last corner and he's off into the gravel. No improvement for him. What about Ayrton? He is invalidated. He'll be P4 at best. Short Marcus coming to the final corner, down towards the line. Can he snatch pole? It looks like it. 26.1, a huge lap from Short Marcus. Goes on to pole position. Mainway not improving. Ayrton and Martin both not improving. What about Cialda? He's 2.5 tenths up in Sector 2. It's nowhere near enough to challenge for pole though. What about Robinet? He's coming to the line as well in the Ferrari. It's these two on their last laps, and Rick as well is on a one last attempt. Down towards the line comes the Dutchman. What can he do? He can go into the pits. That's what he can do apparently. Robinet down towards the line. And it's a 27.9 up to P9. What about Cialda? He'll be last across the line. And he's up to P5, 27.1 for him. But Short Marcus, he's excited in the chat. What a qualifying session that was. He made the right tyre choice, and his main rivals did not. Ayrton down in P6, Martin in P7, but Short Marcus, P3 in the championship, but he takes pole in Imola. Whew. And Victor got up to P3 as well at the end there. But I think the main Wayne, what a lap from him as well. P2, front row, what a lap. Incredible stuff. But it is Short Marcus, who's saying he's gone a bit too high on his wings and says he'll suffer in the race, but we'll see about that. Marcus takes pole by 8.5 tenths of a second in a qualifying eerily similar to the Singapore race I just did. The main Wayne in P2, what a performance from him on the wet tyres as well. Victor 8 thousandths behind in the Alfa Romeo in P3. Spelled wrongs closed out the second row. Cialda P5, the triple reigning champion Ayrton 6th place. Martin down in 7th, and then Trugster, Jackalaka and Robin Amick at the rest of the top 10, with Godzilla, Nathan Clark, Lukes, Scott, RS, Eisenborg, DTS Ayrton, Palang, Rick and Tier, all making up the rest of the grid. Louis, is that you from DLR? Great to see you in the chat. If so, thank you for following the channel. And yeah, what a crazy quali. Looks like a dry race. So if Short Marcus has gone too high on the wings, we're going to find out very quickly. But an interesting session to come. Full grid here in Imola, and I believe formation lap's still off, so we will be straight in. Streams are great to watch while studying. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Good luck with your studying, and I hope you enjoy the race to come. It's, everyone getting their setups ready, getting their strategies ready as soon as they can, and then the lights will go out for the Imola Grand Prix here in ESRL. No assist on any of the drivers, by the way. If you're new to ESRL, it's elite settings, so 0 assist, not even the racing line, so everyone on an equal playing field. And here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And we're underway for the Imola Grand Prix. It's a good start from Short Marcus, but the main Wayne gets an even better start in the Aston Martin. Looks to the outside before turn 1. Down towards the corner they go. The main Wayne to the outside, but Short Marcus keeps the place. Victor looking for a way through as well. Everyone filing through turns 1 and 2 very nicely indeed. But yellow flags at the back. Someone's gone round, but Everyone fairly clean at the start. Marcus nearly into the gravel there at Villeneuve, but manages to keep it on the circuit. Spaled wrong to the inside of Victor. A very, very late move from him, and it's cost him a position because Ayrton's got the switchback. The triple reigning champion all the way up, well, up to P4 already. Cialda's still in P6, Nath Clark up to P7 as well. So Ayrton up 2, Nath Clark up 5 positions, DTS Ayrton up 5 positions as well. Great starts from them. Eisenborg with the worst start, down 4 to last place, but still with the pack just about. As everyone files through the chicane, let's get tyres on the screen. Almost everyone opting for the mediums. The main Wayne starting on the hard tyre. So what an amazing start he had on the worst tyre as well. Victor nearly hits the back of him. He's clearly struggling for pace in that Aston Martin, punching above his weight in qualifying, but in the race looks to be vulnerable, especially on the worst tyre, and it could be doubly overtaken here. Ayrton looking for 2 overtakes on one straight to the outside of Victor before turn 1. They're going to go side by side all the way through. There's contact. Victor's round and into the wall. I think he's gotten away without damage, but disaster for the Alfa Romeo. Ayrton could find himself in the steward's office for that one, but RS on the back of Scott here for P14 as well, but we'll cut back to the front because it's very, very close here for P3. Ayrton already chasing after short markers up to P2 in just a couple of laps. Spelled wrong up to P3, but goes wide on the exit, and but he keeps the position. Onto the podium goes the Division 2 driver. Incredible stuff from him. Cialda looking to get past this struggling Aston Martin as well, who's still on those hard tyres. Everyone else on the mediums. I think perhaps a mistake from the Aston Martin driver. In terms of strategy, Godzilla, by the way, on the softs. A few drivers further back on hards, which makes more sense, but starting on the hards when you're on the front row in Imola, I wouldn't say that's the best call. As Cialda nearly on the gravel on the exit there. Someone's round, that's Palang in sector 3, the beginning of sector 3, at the exit of the chicane. Ayrton sets the fastest lap as he chases after Marcus. But Cialda under pressure from Nath Clark here. The Red Bull looks to the inside, looks to the outside, back to the inside again. Down the inside he goes, ahead before the corner. Out breaks the Mercedes. Very nicely done from him. And Martin's looking to follow his teammate here down the inside towards Villeneuve. Surely not. There's going to be contact. Surely there is. And they just about both make it through, but it's very close. And there's contact behind as Trugster hits Martin. Is there damage to the Alpha Tauri as a virtual safety car? Perhaps that's what caused the contact. That's Martin just slowed down for the VSC, and Trugster didn't realise until too late. But looks like they've both gotten away with it. Palang into the pits for most likely a new front wing. Look at this gap these two have already, 4 seconds. I know it's under VSC, so it's probably not representative, but still 3 or 4 seconds after 3 laps. That is quite something from these two, and Ayrton looking to be in a class of his own on terms of race pace here. VSC still out, but I think Marcus really got his work cut out to keep this man behind. The Danish driver will have DRS once the VSC comes in, but he won't have it down towards turn 1, so Marcus will get one more lap of respite before the Haas comes barreling down his inside into turn 1, I'm sure. Still VSC out. Palang is out of the pits, but VSC going to last for a little bit longer. And DRS now enabled. There we go, green flags, and they're off. As short Marcus gets a little bit of a jump on Ayrton. 3 seconds is the gap to Spaled after all is said and done with the VSC. But Spaled opening out a gap to the main Wayne, who's at the moment helping him out because he's keeping all the faster cars behind. As Martin down the inside of Cialda into the hairpin. Lovely move that looked like from the Red Bull. He's up to P6. Nath Clark looking to follow his example and get past the main Wayne as soon as he can, because he's losing quite a bit of time behind this Aston. RS up ahead of Scott for P16 in the meantime. Nath Clark goes very deep at Aqua Minerale, loses a ton of time, but he's still going to be right behind here, as Marcus has actually gotten a fair amount of jump here on Ayrton in the slow section of track. It's up to 8 or 9 tenths, but I think Ayrton definitely has lower wings than the Alpine driver, as Lukes is the first to get a track limits penalty. Nath Clark nearly into the back of the Aston through the penultimate corner, just about holds it together, but I think the main Wayne going to be extremely vulnerable here on the straight, and indeed there go both Red Bulls easily past before turn 1. In fact, Martin could have the jump on his teammate here as well. Palang gets a penalty all the way at the back, but no, Martin stays behind Nath Clark as there's a mistake from the Red Bull and another mistake from Palang, who spun again in the Ferrari. And hopefully he doesn't cause a safety car, but Nath Clark very deep at Villeneuve. Some different lines being taken by the two Red Bull drivers, but they're both catching Spaled Wrong now. They're in DRS range of the Alpine, who's going to be very worried at seeing the names behind him, because fairly famous names in ESRL, these two Red Bulls. Spaled Wrong, of course, the reigning Division 2 champion, but this is Division 1, and it's going to be tough for him to keep these guys behind. Martin looking for a move on his teammate as well. Mar, of course, he's in the championship fight. I know it's very early in the season, but still, he's up there in the championship standings. So he's not going to play ball with his teammate if he doesn't have to. As here we go, on to lap 6. Ayrton's going to have the DRS down towards turn 1. The gap is 7 tenths. Down towards the first corner, and Marcus got actually a lot more ERS than the Haas, surprisingly. Ayrton not going to make a move, but Nath Clark's going to make a move down the inside of the Alpine. Martin's going to try and follow him through. Are they going to be side by side into turn 1? Nearly, but Martin doesn't quite have the overspeed to do that. And now the Red Bull of Martin is going to be losing a ton of time behind this Alpine, as Spaled Wrong dips a tyre into the gravel there. Palang round again, and well, surely that's going to be an early retirement. He's been lapped already on lap 6. Not a good opening race for him. But the German Martin looking to find a way past the American of Spaled Wrong, so he can follow his teammate up towards the top 2. That's what he'll be hoping for, if I can get my words right, as Martin now round the outside of Spaled Wrong. Spale, I think, just let him go there, wasn't content to fight that, just saw that Martin was going for it and thought, oh, yeah, no, not my race, I'll just let you guys go, have your DRS for a lap or 2, and then just focus on my own race, keeping the other guys behind me. As now Martin's going to be after his teammate. Ayrton's still not close enough to Marcus to make a move, but Martin down the inside of his teammate, done before turn 1. Another yellow flag, that's Palang again at the back. But Marcus still in the lead of this Grand Prix. Jack Alacco getting past Trugster just before turn 1. Robinet all the way into the gravel. He's completely misjudged his braking point there in that battle, and he's lost a ton of positions as a result. Nath Clark's round in the Red Bull. Palang has retired in the pit lane, but Nath Clark is now going to be swarmed into the hairpin as his car unghosts, and Robinet tries to get his way past, as well as Victor. No, Robinet's round, in fact, and it's been a terrible lap for Robinet into the gravel at turn 1. Into the gravel again at the hairpin, and the Ferrari driver going to have to put on a fantastic recovery drive now to get himself into the points. But Nath Clark, the inconsistency that he's been infamous for in ESRL in these last few seasons, comes back to bite again as he bins it, presumably of his own doing. But we've got to switch back to the front, because Ayrton's now close enough to Marcus to make the move, and it is the triple reigning champion into the lead of the Imola Grand Prix on lap 8 of 32 after starting from 6th place. And I don't think there was much Marcus could have done about that. He's still got ERS left, so maybe he didn't even fight it, as now Trugster and Jackos continue to fight side by side through the first few corners. Godzilla trying to make a move as well on the soft tyre, which is surely going to be struggling at the moment on lap 8, but he's made the move into Villeneuve, and Godzilla up to P8. Jack Alacco still sitting very nicely in 7th for now. The main Wayne on the hards, still keeping up, holding his own out there on the worst tyre. Obviously quite a way behind the leaders, but as long as he can stick with Cialda, he'll be reasonably happy with how this stint is going. But lost a lot of time in Aqua Minerale then, 2 or 3 tenths there, as Nath Clark gets passed by TCS Ayrton. That was surely another mistake from the Red Bull driver. But Marcus has stayed with Ayrton here. He's going to have the DRS into turn 1. I don't know if he's going to be close enough to make a move. It's 6.5 tenths. Yeah, no. I don't think he'll bother trying to make a move here. Palang leaves the session. It's been a race to forget for him, a debut to forget, in fact. But at least he hasn't taken anyone out. Cialda gets past Spaled Wrong into P4 in the meantime. DRS pass easily done before turn 1. And the Mercedes up into the top 4. Spaled Wrong down to 5th place. And again, I think he's just going to try and secure the best finish he can without fighting too hard with these very, very quick Tier 1 guys who are further down than they ought to be after a chaotic qualifying session. But that's Godzilla round at Villeneuve, the second casualty of this corner. Nath Clark's binned it. He's out of the session. Where's he binned it? There it is. There's the stricken Red Bull. We do have a safety car. Nath Clark triggers the full course yellow, and Godzilla spinning at the same time. He is going to be gutted that safety car has just come out. Terrible timing for him, but again, Nath Clark, he's got fantastic pace, but goodness me, he just can't keep the car on the track. And another DNF for him, unfortunately, as Ayrton will lead the pack round at the safety car. What are these guys on the mediums going to do? Are they going to... Yep, they're going to box, presumably for the hards. Nath Clark in the chat, he says he forgot to turn the tyre pressures down. His tyres were at 110. Well, that would explain quite a lot. So that's unfortunate for him, but a costly mistake that has cost him any chance in this race. And yeah, indeed, those medium runners into the pits for the hard tyres. What's the main Wayne going to do? That's a good question. He's onto the mediums, which surely won't make it to the end. It's 22 laps. It's quite a distance on those tyres. It will be tricky for him. Spaled Wrong doing the same for another set of mediums. Lukes and Trugser have both stayed out on the mediums. Which is, again, an interesting decision in itself. And all sorts of strategy options going on here. Cialda's onto the softs. Who knows, honestly, what's going on here? I mean, I can't call the right strategy around here at this point. Safety car in lap 9, what are you supposed to do? The hards will go, but they'll be very slow. But I think Ayrton, Marcus and Martin now 3rd, 4th and 5th respectively. These 3 incredible drivers are going to go toe-to-toe on all the same strategy as well. They're all on those fresh hards, looking to go to the end. We'll see if there's another safety car. That's what Cialda is hoping for, I'm sure. Same with the main Wayne and Spaled Wrong, who are both onto the mediums. Did Spaled start on the mediums? That's a good question. Let's find out. Spaled Wrong. Where is he? Yes, he did. So he's gone double mediums. I don't know if that's intentional, if he's intentionally doing the 2-stop, or if he's made a mistake in his pit stop settings. But either way, he's on another set of mediums, so he will have to stop again before the end, unfortunately. As now everyone filing through Sector 3, we're going to get another lap of this safety car. Scott trundling around at the back in the Aston. Just getting back on terms with the pack. Let's have a quick look at penalties in the meantime. 3 seconds for Lukes and a 5-second penalty for Tier, presumably for speeding in the pit lane, so that's unfortunate for him. And I'm sure he's going to go in again. Yeah, there he goes. The Alfa Romeo back in the pits to get rid of that 5-second penalty and also get rid of those soft tyres, I'm sure. So hopefully he'll have enough time to catch back up to the pack, because it's a long pit lane around this circuit. With the 5-second penalty, It might actually be a difficult job to get back with the pack here. They're already coming to the end of Sector 1. Tier's just coming out the pit. I think he'll make it, but yeah, as you can see, very, very long pit lane. It goes so long. It feels like you should be able to put the throttle down a lot earlier than you can. Godzilla gets a 5-second penalty for a collision with RS. Is there damage on the Mercedes? It said a severe collision, but it could just be that they touched under the safety car and it's given Godzilla the penalty. And I think that is the case because there's no visible damage to the Mercedes. Or to the AlphaTauri, in fact. But that's going to be a thorn in the side of Godzilla if he has to pit and get that removed and serve that in the pit lane. I'm sure he'll try and get it removed in the stewards otherwise, but he is on the mediums and he'll struggle to make the whole distance. So I think he is going to have to serve that in the pit lane, unfortunately for him. Tier just about catching up. Like I said, it was very close. He's only just caught up at the end of Sector 2 here. So safety car in. Lukes will lead the pack off here. He decides when to punch it. Weaving around, getting some heat into the tyres. You don't actually need to do that this year, really, too much, but it does help to get some temperature in the surface of the tyres. The carcass you can heat up using the brakes this year. But Lukes just deciding when to go. I think he's gone out of the final corner. He has indeed. And Trugster stuck with him. But look at that. Short Marcus caught napping here. And he's under huge pressure from his championship rival, Martin, to the inside of the Alpine, down towards turn 1. A bit of wheel banging as they go down, maybe. But Martin on the inside. Marcus breaks late. I think Martin backed out of that. He wasn't willing to go for that move into that corner. But he is willing to go for into Villeneuve. Here he goes to the inside. What a move this would be. No, he backs out again, just scares Shaw Marcus into a bad line, and as a result he's going to get a better line down towards the hairpin. Round the outside goes the Red Bull. Can he make it work? Not quite, as they still go side by side now down towards the next corner. Ayrton passed Trugster already, but these two still side by side. Marcus stays ahead, but what a battle that was through half a lap, pretty much side by side. Spaled Ron getting past Jack Alaco in the meantime. Victor trying to do the same, but can't do it into Aquaminerale. You'd have to be absolutely insane to make a move into Aquaminerale down the inside. But Victor staying behind for now. It does look like Jacko is under pressure here as the Alfa Romeo practically pushes him through the chicane, and in fact looks to the inside. It'll be the outside for the penultimate corner, but I think Jacko's just let him go here. Victor up to P9 in the Alfa Romeo, and Marcus looking to overtake Trugster as well. Ayrton already up into first place past Lukes, and Short Marcus looking to do the same on Trugster. He's going to have the inside for turn 1, but Trugster's not going to make it easy for him. Down the inside goes Marcus. Trugster very wide on the exit, and Martin finds his way through as well. Beautiful racing between the three of them, but Cialda finds his way past the AlphaTauri as well. Trugster really struggling. Those 12-lap-old mediums not the best at this point, and Cialda on those softs is going to be very dangerous to these guys in the hards just ahead. Martin pushes his championship rival practically through the hairpin as he looks to make a pass, but Marcus looking to make a pass of his own on Lukes. I said you'd have to be crazy to go down the inside of Aquaminerale. He's going to do it, but backs out, tries to scare Lukes off the track to get a better exit than him, and it looks like it's worked down the inside for the chicane. It looks like Godzilla's gone round in the Mercedes, unfortunately, but Marcus up to P2, but the damage has been done. He's 2 seconds behind Ayrton, and well, we all know, if you're at all familiar with ESRL, you know how formidable Ayrton is. Once he's in the lead in a race, he very rarely loses it. And well, is into the lead now and out of DRS range as Martin gets past the McLaren as well, as he just about does keep track of the Alpine, and he's got a lot more ERS in the tank as well, so advantage to the Red Bull as Cialda looks to make a move as well around the outside, doesn't quite do it. He's got the soft tyres, tries to make the move now down towards Villeneuve. He's going to get the better exit. Is he going to go down the inside? No, he backs out sensibly, but frustrated I'm sure he'll be, and he looks to the outside, looks to the inside of the hairpin. hairpin, dives down the inside of the McLaren. I think probably a bit of contact there, but Cialda's made his way through. Couldn't quite see if there was contact with that camera angle, but the Mercedes up to 4th, but he's out of DRS range of the 2 ahead. So not ideal for Cialda, and those soft tyres are just going to get worse and worse over the coming laps. Meanwhile, Spaled Wrong up to P6, Trugster up to down to P7, but holding off Victor for now, who must be getting frustrated as well in his Alfa Romeo. He's on the hard tyres, so it's difficult to get the run on the AlphaTauri. We've got a bit of a sound bug, so apologies for that already, only on lap 14, and we've already got the sound bug, so that's unfortunate. But the main way nearly into the back of the Alfa Romeo there, just about keeps it together. But Spaled Wrong now to the inside of Luke's. He's going to make the pass. DRS enabled for the Alpine. And all the way up to P5. He's going to be delighted with where he is right now, as Victor gets past Trugster in the background as well. Down towards turn 1. No DRS on that AlphaTauri, so no defence. And he goes wide as well at turn 2, and that lets the main Wayne and Jacko through. Trugster down to P10, and he's going to be vulnerable on the outside of Villeneuve for DTS. Ayrton makes the move, sweeps around. Great stuff from the Haas. And Robinet's going to look to try and find his way through as well. Can't quite do it though, the Frenchman. Has to stick behind Rick as well, looking for a way past RS. A little bit squirrely on the exit as Victor getting past Luke's in the meantime. Up to P6 goes the Alfa Romeo. But he does have that track limits penalty, is it? Yeah, 3 seconds. As Rick gets past Robinet for P12 into Aqua Minerale. How's he done that? But he's gone wide on the exit as a result. Robinet back through. That was a spinning AlphaTauri in the background. RS round. And down to P15 as Scott finds his way past. But a long train now as well. I said it was 2 seconds, this gap. It was 2 seconds. I said Ayrton would be gone. That would be it. But look at this. Short Marcus is back into DRS range almost. Jackalacco now with a time penalty as Martin easily sweeps his way through with DRS as Marcus has nothing left in the tank in terms of ERS. And you can see the flashing red light on the back of the Alpine shows that to Martin. He knew he was vulnerable, and now he's going to be off after Ayrton, who's got only a little bit more ERS in the tank. I thought Ayrton would be saving, and that's why the gap's coming down, but no. It looks like Ayrton just doesn't seem to be as strong around this circuit relative to everyone else, and Martin looking like a good shout for the race win here. Marcus is still with them as well, but that ERS deficit is going to really come back to bite him. He's got to make sure he doesn't waste any now. It's tough to gain back ERS on this circuit. And Marcus just about sticking with Martin for now, but for how long can he do it with no ERS? Martin's going to have the DRS on Ayrton. Eisenborg with a penalty further back in P14. For track limits, Martin round the final corner. He has the DRS, and he will catch up to Ayrton down towards turn 1, but I don't think he's close enough to make a move in the Red Bull. But I'll tell you who is. Victor, only 4.5 tenths back on Spaled Wrong. But Martin actually gaining a lot more time than I thought. Looks to the inside, doesn't send it though. And Victor looks to the outside of Spaled Wrong. He's got no ERS in that Alfa Romeo, but it doesn't matter. He's clean past the Alpine up to 5th place. Looks like Trugster's into the pits. Cialda's gone into the gravel and round. Oh, that's a disaster for him. Those soft tyres, a huge struggle for him at this point in the race. Oh god, that sound is horrible. I do apologise. Not much I can do about it. Scott up to P11. Cialda has had an absolute nightmare there on those soft tyres. I think the wrong decision on his part. But look at this, a three-way battle for the win developing as Ayrton cannot keep these guys at bay. He had a 2-second advantage. I thought it was over, but Martin and Marcus have come fighting back. And they're in DRS range, and the triple defending champion very vulnerable here in his Haas. Martin has got the ERS. Ayrton only about 10% more. Has Marcus managed to save any? Yeah, he's up to about 25%. But Martin very wide on the exit there. Could have been a track limits warning, and that's going to be the only thing that could put a dampener on this battle will be track limits penalties, as they're very easy to get round here. Martin, though, to the inside, and he leads the Imola Grand Prix for the first time today through before turn 1, and Martin gets ahead of Ayrton. Luke's now with the next person to get a track limits penalty. Ayrton on the inside of Villeneuve. God, that sound is awful. As they go through Sector 1. Marcus sticking with them, these top three, in a class of their own. Victor 4.5 seconds back. As he's under pressure from Speil Long, but Speil's got a pit again, remember. He's gone medium, and you have to use 2 different sets of tyres. So I think it might be a soft stint at the end of this one for Speil Long. But he's going to lose a huge amount of time doing it. I mean, as it stands, if he pits, he'll be down to, I think, last place pretty much, other than Godzilla. At least down to sort of 14th or so. So, yeah, he's got a lot of work to do as the American. But here come the top 3 down through the final corner, down towards turn 1, lap 18 of 32. We're just over halfway through this race. It feels like we should be more. But it's... here we go, lap 19 now. Ayrton with the DRS is going to make the move down the inside. They're going to go side by side. Is Martin going to fight it? No, he's not. He's going to let the Haas through. He knows all that matters is who's ahead on the end of lap 32. And he's going to just wait and see when the opportunity arises. I think there might be quite a few position swaps in the works over the next 13 laps or so. Spelled wrong now with a time penalty further back. I think someone went round. I'm not sure who it was. I saw some red arrows go down. Eisenborg loses the place to Tier in the meantime, down towards turn 1. It looks like Godzilla with a penalty. His race has been an absolute horror show, I have to say. Scott now round in the Aston Martin. It looks like he just lost 2 positions. Cialda with a penalty as well. But here come the track limits penalties. It's about that time in the race where these 3-second penalties start popping up all over the place. It looks like the sound bug might have fixed itself, thank goodness. Hopefully I haven't just cursed it. But these 3 still locked together for the win of this race. Ayrton leads for now, but when are the track limits penalties going to come into play? I would go into Race Director and check how many warnings they all have, but I think I would do a disservice to the racing that's on show. Cialda is round again in his Mercedes. Martin to the inside of Ayrton makes the move up to first place once again. Tier gets a time penalty as well in his Alfa Romeo. And, well, all of these top 3 have now led this race at some point. But all that matters, like I say, is who's leading at the end of lap 32. And at the moment, they're all just filing through. Marcus in the least advantageous position here, at the back of a 3-car DRS train. There's not too much he can do unless something happens. Cialda, though, is retired in the pit lane. Okay, he hasn't binned it. It's been, well, it's safe to say, an absolute disaster for Mercedes this race. They qualified fairly well, but the race has not gone to plan at all for them, unfortunately. So, yeah, they're not a good race in terms of the championship for them either. Constructors going to take a real hit with neither of them scoring points. Another penalty for Godzilla as he retires as well, and makes it 4 casualties in this race. Ayrton with the DRS is going to make the move on Martin before turn 1 as well. Side by side they go, but the overspeed from Ayrton surely going to be too much, and the Danish driver into P1 once more as the retiring Mercedes just gets out of the way. But Ayrton back in the lead. Marcus just struggling to keep up here. How much ERS has he got? Oh, he's saved up a huge amount. He's back up to a healthy amount of ERS, which is very good for him. In fact, they've all got a healthy amount of ERS now. All of them well over 70%. Martin and Ayrton well over 90%. They don't need to burn ERS at this point. They're just going to work together. And I think this battle for the lead is really going to come alive in the last few laps when it really matters. And I did indeed curse it. The sound bug is back, sadly. Godzilla leaves the session. What other battles are going on in the meantime? We've got DTS Ayrton just behind Robinet, who has found himself back into the points after his disastrous, I think it was lap 7 when everything went wrong for the Frenchman, but he's into the points again and looking fairly strong, but he's got this Haas to deal with just behind Scott, and RS and Eisenborg all together as well. Trugster's there too. But he's on those soft tyres. He'll struggle to get those to the end. We saw what happened to Cialda when he was on those soft tyres for a little too long just a few laps ago. Martin back into the lead in the meantime, though. We've got yellow flags in Sector 3. That's a Williams. I think that's Rick that's gone round. Yeah, it is indeed. The Dutchman. A long way ahead, but he's peeling into the pits. Could that be an early retirement for the Dutchman? We'll soon find out. Yes, it is. And he becomes the 5th casualty of the race. He's had enough of this one. Obviously only reserve driver, so, you know. He was in the points, though, and what that has done is promoted Scott into P10, into the points for the Aston driver. But he's got Trugster and RS just behind him, looking to take that final point away. As these top 3 continue to file through Sector 3 now. Is Victor catching them? 3.3 seconds. I think it was more than that not too long ago. But there's no ERS on that Alfa Romeo, and I think he's going to be consigned to 4th place here unless there's more drama to come in this race, which there could well be. Ayrton to the inside of Martin, and another swap of positions for the two of them. As the Haas driver back into the lead. Martin back down to P2. Marcus still just a spectator at this point, but he's doing really well to keep with them. It can be difficult to keep the concentration when you're the back car in a 3-car DRS train. Can be tricky to keep the focus on the track and not lose out in time and a spin, but Marcus doing well as it stands. Still within the DRS range, and that's all he needs to be at this point. He can go for it, really go for it in the last few laps, and indeed he is up to about 100% ERS as well. So the 3 of them all on level terms in terms of ERS, and this is going to be a fascinating final few laps if there's not a late safety car in this one. And to be honest, I hope there isn't. A late safety car does cause a lot of drama, of course, but these 3 have been in a very fair and very tight battle all race long now. I think a late safety car, putting them all on the softs, would be a disservice to how well they've all driven. So we'll see how it turns out. Martin, another swap of positions. How many has it been now? At least like 10, I think. Martin back into the lead of this one. Marcus still sticking with them. Speil Wong has come in for his scheduled pit stop. He's gone onto the soft tyre, like I said, until the end of this one. He'll do 8 laps on that tyre. Sorry, 9 laps. But he's going to be all the way down to 9th place, and I think with no real chance of getting any higher. He's going to be comfortably ahead of Trugster, he'll be glad to see, but yeah, 9th place will be the best he's got here. Trugster into the pits as well in the meantime. He's had enough of those soft tyres, and that's after only 6 laps. So Speil Wong, sorry, 7 laps, so Speil Wong is going to have quite a journey on his hands, but he's got a 6-second gap to Luke's behind, 17 seconds to the car in front. There's no pressure on the American, so he's just got to bring it home now in P9. But those softs will start to get very shaky towards the end of this one. Meanwhile, the top 3 still locked together, but Ayrton has lost a bit of time to Martin on this lap, and maybe they won't swap positions again here, but look at the overspeed that Ayrton's got. He's used a fair bit of ERS, but he's not going to make the move into turn 1. He's going to decide against it, and in fact, yeah, Ayrton now has the least ERS of the 3. He's down to around 60%, and it does burn off very quickly around here. You use the overtake and suddenly half of it's gone if you use it on one straight. So Ayrton actually at quite a significant disadvantage here. He's going to hope that he can regain all of that. But Victor, in the meanwhile, while we've been focusing on them, Victor has gained a second, despite having no ERS and no DRS either on the Alpha. He's gained a second on these top three. That is fantastic stuff from him. It's not going to mean much unless they all get a penalty ahead as well. He's got that track limits penalty hanging over his head, but he's putting in a fantastic drive here to even have any chance of catching up to them. And, well, there's still 8 laps to go in this one. 7 laps at the end of this one. And who knows what might happen towards the end. There could still be a crash ahead, so Victor giving himself every opportunity to benefit if anything does go wrong. RS out the pits. Oh my god, even the announcer in the background as Marcus down the inside, he finally makes a move. There's contact between the two and they're both into the gravel, and could they have just handed the win to NER Ayrton? He's now got a 1.3 second lead. Marcus might well regret that, and now he's got Victor within DRS range as well. This is exactly what the Alfa Romeo driver wanted to see. There's still 6.5 laps left in this race, but Ayrton's just been handed a huge lifeline by short Marcus, who went for a dive down the inside of Mar. Didn't get it done. There was contact between the two through turn 2, and now they've lost a ton of time, but Mar 10 regaining the time that he's lost already. It could be in DRS range again by the end of this lap. He is as well. Martin just putting in the lap times here that he needs to do. 9/10. It's going to be very close at the DRS line. There's Victor in the background going very wide of the chicane. Martin is going to have the DRS, but he's used a bit of ERS to do it. And Marcus now is going to be very vulnerable to not being able to get back up to those top two. He's got half of his ERS left, but he's out of DRS range. He's going to hope these two battle, but they're not close enough to do that. Martin's got the DRS, but not going to be close enough to send it into turn 1, and he wouldn't anyway. He knows this race is going to be won on the final lap. But Marcus now 1.6 behind, and I think he is going to be kicking himself for making that move. Perhaps it wasn't intentional. Maybe he just braked too late. Just outbraked himself at turn 1. But if he can't get back in DRS range, he's going to sorely regret that move. But it looks like he might well do. He's just gained half a second in that sector. And looking to get back in range, but he's used a lot of ERS to do it, only 40% or so left. He is back within a second, but at what cost to his ERS meter? Martin's got plenty left. Ayrton also got plenty left. So these two are going to be battling all the way to the line. What a race we're in store for here in these last few laps. We're going on to lap 28 of 32. 5 laps to go at the end of this one. No other battles on track, really. No one else is within a second of each other. So it's all about these top 4. And I say top 4 because Victor is back in this now. He's nearly within a second. Martin back into the lead of this one. These two swap positions once again. They're back into their regular programming is resumed as the top two once again swap positions, Martin and Ayrton. But Ayrton looks like he's struggling for pace compared to the Red Bull. Marcus just behind. He is within range again, but Ayrton's got to find some lap time now. So he doesn't fall out of that 1 second range. That would be a disaster for him if he did. And he'd be very vulnerable to Marcus behind as well. How much ERS on the Alpine? About half. Ayrton, just about 60%. Martin on about 50% as well. It's very close on ERS between all three of them. 4 laps to go at the end of this one. I do apologise for that horrible sound. It's really bad. But these top 3... they won't be hearing it, thankfully for them, as Spelled Wrong in the meantime is catching DTS Ayrton at a rate of knots, but he does have that track limits penalty, so even if he does catch, he won't gain the position in the end, unless something happens to Ayrton, or DTS Ayrton I should say. These 4 drivers now all in DRS of each other. Victor has gotten in range this lap. He's going to have DRS towards turn 1. It's exactly what he wanted, but he's still got that track limits penalty to contend with. None of these 3 do. And, well, Victor, if he does manage to make any moves here, in these last few laps. He's going to be gutted about that penalty, but it's still a fantastic drive from him to come up to P4 and to be catching these top three who've all got DRS all race long. Fantastic effort from him. A bit of a snap from Martin on the exit of the hairpin. Tier the next to get another track limits penalty. Are any of these three going to get one? Again, I check warnings, but I cannot turn away from the racetrack at this point. Ayrton looking for a move into Aqua Minerale has to back out. And it's getting very, very close between these three as we're going to go on to the final few laps. Victor now gets another 3-second time penalty. He's up to 6 seconds now, and that's his any chance of a podium here gone unless there's an incident between these three, which there could well be in these remaining laps. 3 laps to go. Ayrton nearly into the back of Martin in the penultimate corner. Takes a wide line as a result. Could be vulnerable to short Marcus on the exit here, but no. Marcus just about staying with him. Ayrton got the DRS, so does Marcus. Is Ayrton close enough to make a move into turn 1? I think he is. Look at the overspeed on the Haas. Looks to the outside. Martin squeezes him, so Ayrton looks to the inside instead and has to back out of that. Jacko gets another time penalty as well further back, but it's all about these three. Martin continues to lead this race. Ayrton will be a bit unhappy with the perceived blocking there from Martin, but it's hard racing out there. All 4 of these drivers want the win. Victor just wants something to happen so he can snatch it away despite his penalties. But I think he'd need something truly spectacular to happen for him to gain anything out of this. But still, he is in DRS range and ready to pounce if anything does occur. And, well, the way Martin was blocking down to turn 1, it might well happen as they head down towards the chicane. Spelled wrong within 2 seconds of DTS Ayrton, but again, he's got that time penalty to contend with. Jackalacco in P6, but he's got penalties as well of his own. He's going to drop down. Luke's at the moment is going to take the final point. Scott a long way behind him, but these three now file through onto the penultimate lap, lap 31 of 32. Ayrton is going to have the DRS once again. Marcus and Victor will have it behind as well, but it's all about Ayrton. Can he make a move on Martin into turn 1? It's the penultimate lap, and Ayrton to the inside. Marcus to the inside as well. Look to make it a double loss of position for Martin, but Mar squeezes him out, and Sean Marcus loses a ton of time. Victor's round in the background after all of that. He's gone round. He's back down well behind these 3 drivers, and it's now all about these 3 again, but Marcus, I think, has lost out here. Due to that attempted overtake, he had to go for it because it's the penultimate lap. This time it wasn't an oversight on his part. He had to go for it, but I think he's lost out as a result. ERS, he's got about 30%, Martin about 50, Ayrton about 50 as well. It's all about these 2. Marcus could get back into DRS range before the end of the lap, but I think he's going to be too far back to gain anything here. He's going to be gutted if he does lose out. Victor could lose out to the main Wayne if he makes another mistake as well. There's 6 seconds of penalties on that Alpha, don't forget. As they all file through, Spaled Wong is in range of Ayrton. DTS Ayrton is surely going to make that move, but surely isn't going to gain 3 seconds in 1 lap on the Haas driver. I wouldn't have thought so, but here we go. Marcus is out of DRS range, so he's out of this fight. This is the final lap, the battle for the lead. Martin is going to go round the outside of the Haas. Ayrton squeezes him to the grass, but Martin's going to make the move. Ayrton can't do anything about it on the brakes into turn 1, and Mar leads the Imola Grand Prix on the final lap. Ayrton's got no ERS left. Martin's got still a little bit to play with. He's just got to get it to the line, not make any mistakes from this point. Marcus, I think, is going to be consigned to P3 here, which he'll be fairly gutted about after taking pole and being with these 2 formidable drivers all race long. But Marcus, formidable driver in his own right, of course, but I think just being at the back of that DRS train, it was always going to be extremely difficult for him to gain anything. And Ayrton follows Martin through Aqua Minerale down towards the chicane, but he's too far back to send it into there. That was his last real hope of a move, unless there's a mistake from Mar in this final corner. Another time penalty for Victor is going to mean Main Wayne is going to jump up to P4 in the end. So what a drive from the Aston Martin as well. 22 laps he's done on those mediums. What an incredible drive from him. But Martin, round the final corner, the Red Bull driver from Germany wins the Imola Grand Prix. What a a race that was. Ayrton finishes P2. Short Marcus finishes in third after qualifying pole. He'll be gutted in the short term, but I think in the long term he'll be happy to get that well-deserved podium here. Victor finishes in fourth, but it's going to be fifth after penalties as the main Wayne crosses the line. But Victor's going to be gutted with that. Jackalacco spirals into the wall there after crossing the line. He'll finish P7. Victor has been DNF'd because he left the session before everyone's finished, and that's a common bug in the game. Yeah, Marcus says a bit pissed off there, and I did say he would be, but Spelled Wrong finishes in P9 in the end. It'll be Luke's in P10. And Victor will finish P5 after all is said and done. Spale just about didn't get that time on DTS Ayrton. He nearly did. Look at that. Only 2.5 tenths. It was very close. What an incredible lap that would have been if he'd gotten it. But not quite to be. And Ayrton, DTS holds on to P8. And everyone else coming across the line. Tier will be the last. He'll finish in 15th place. Jackalacco cannot complain about that at all, and no, I wouldn't say so. Fantastic drive from you. Bit lonely in the last stint, but I mean, pretty much everyone except the top 4 was lonely for that last stint. So yeah, no, great effort from you and from many others. But it's Martin who's the winner today. What a drive from him. What a drive from all 3 of these fantastic drivers. Marcus is dripping in sweat, he says in the chat, and well, I'm not surprised at all. Spale pulled a Ferrari. He did indeed. Spale, did you mean to put on the mediums under the safety car, or was it a menu error, or did you just pull a Ferrari strategy? Apparently mediums can do 23 laps. I didn't think they could. I thought it was crazy that the others were doing that, but you had to pit anyway because you had the double medium strat. Listen to the music. Yeah, the sound bug carries into every aspect of the game. It's not just the engine sounds, it's the announcer in the background and the music, which is quite funny really. Spale thought people might pit again, and they didn't. Yeah, that's a shame for him. But Martin wins the Imola Grand Prix from Ayrton, who does take the extra point for fastest lap, though. But Mar will take the championship lead today. Marcus finishes a disappointing P3 in the end, but it will be a good podium for him nonetheless. The main win P4, it will be whoever it was Victor in P5, and then Robin A. Jacko, DTS Ayrton, Spaled, Luke, Scott, RS, Trugstar, Eisenborg, Tier, Rick, Godzilla, and then Rick, Godzilla, Cialda, Nath Clark, and Palang, all not finishing the race. Just about got through everyone there in time. It was helped by a few extra seconds after the clock hit 0. But there we go. What a race that was. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope all the drivers enjoyed it as well. But thank you all ever so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. I have been Ghost. Make sure to subscribe and like the stream if you haven't already. Helps me out, helps ESRL out as well. And yeah, I'll see you soon. So have a good weekend and goodbye.